Hi, my name is Alex Parkman, and I'm an MSW graduate student with the Applied Health Sciences Masters in Social Work program at Renison College and University of Waterloo. And I'm welcoming you today to observe my final Capstone project, which is a project I've been working over the past 2 years. It's involved an online e-portfolio with the final project, which you're just about to observe. So for my final capstone project, I chose to do a self-portrait painting, and which will be used to symbolize my overall learning over the last 2 years. So before I jump into discussing specifically the painting, I wanted to talk a little bit about the research and the prep and the planning that went into actually prepping this project. So to start off, I'm not a painter. I've never been a painter. And so when I had this idea of doing a portrait, it might have been a little bit challenging for me because it's out of my comfort zone. And so prior to even starting the project, I had to do a lot of research. I did that by going online, looking on like Pinterest and Google, and just to get a general overview of what it means to paint and what it looks like to be a beginner painter. I also reached out to a previous coworker of mine and a cousin who are avid painters and kind of got some suggestions of how I can get started. They gave me great feedback. They suggested starting with the eyes, starting with like prepping by kind of just sketching on my canvas prior to even like picking up the brush, which were all great suggestions. And I wanted to touch on this piece because I feel like it really reflects best the research component of social work, and which is something that I've always known about research. It's always kind of been in the back of my mind, but for me, before starting this program, I never really thought about how research really is implicated into practice, or how important it is for practice in social work. I kind of thought about it as someone with a PhD level that does a whole data collection, and they are gathering information and they're deciphering through it and then kind of redistributing it back to the community. And in a sense, yes, that's what research is, but I never really thought of what my role was, and never really thought that I had a role in research. And so for me, completing my MSW, I have really recognized that I do have a role in research, and it is really important for social work practice and my future practice. So I think that in overall, the program has really made me realize why that is so important. And so I bring to you kind of the first, and I'll get into it more specifically, but the painting, the first kind of writing up here I have is knowledge mobilization. And so knowledge mobilization has been a new term to me, and I'll be honest to you, when we started the coursework, I was a little bit skeptical about it. I didn't really think that we should be spending a whole course on it, and that maybe it could have been completed in a module, until I really kind of dove in and was really starting to understand why knowledge mobilization is so important. And it kind of encompasses everything in social work, and how we're building trusting relationships with clients, with everyone that we're meeting, with colleagues, and interprofessional relationships. And so for me, the research part of this program has been really important for me to develop those skills and recognizing, how to do research, but why it's important as well. So jumping right to the painting itself, you'll notice I'll post a picture so you can have a better view of it. But what I did was I took a picture of my student ID, and I kind of cut it down the middle, and I made it black and white, and I put it on a white background. And the reason why I did that is I wanted to represent kind of the person I was before I started the program. And so I kind of made it kind of plain, kind of boring. Not that I didn't have knowledge and skills beforehand, but I wanted to kind of have it as like a fresh slate before I started into the program. So then you'll see on the other side, I actually painted the other half of my face, and I made it really colorful, and I kind of blended colors. And then I also kind of put some key terms and themes and concepts that were really important to me, and that I feel have been really, really significant in my learning. And I'll go into those a little bit, touch on them a little bit prior to the end. And so the first term was knowledge mobilization, and it was kind of one of the main themes for me. But the second term is self-reflection, and I think this project in itself will speak to how important critical self-reflection is in social work practice. Self-reflection isn't a new concept for me. It's not a new skill for me. It's something that I learned at the BSW level. I do feel that I've gotten a little bit better at it. It's an ongoing thing. It's a lifelong journey. It's not something that you're ever done. You're always critically self-reflecting on your practice and how you can improve, and learning about new strategies and new approaches that you can take in your practice. And so that was kind of the second theme that I focused on my project, and that this whole project is supposed to reflect my learning. And so for me, when I complete this project, my hope is to be able to post this in my office so that I can reflect back and think about those key things that I learned during the program, and making sure that I am putting them into practice. So the third term is leadership, and leadership, actually the leadership course was really kind of a turning path for me, or kind of took my BSW skill set and took it to the next level, to an MSW. And I was really, really fortunate to be able to complete the supervision course while I was actually completing my practicum course. And so I completed my practicum in an acute care facility on a team of social workers who were led by a social worker, which can be rare in healthcare practice. So I was very fortunate to be able to kind of observe that skill set and really get to know the team, but also get to know the supervisor and kind of see her approach and kind of the skills that she was using with me in supervision and also with the team. And so it really kind of made me think about, what kind of supervisor and leader I want to be in the future. It obviously isn't going to be something that I dive into right after finishing an MSW program, but in the future, I could see myself in 10-15 years having a goal of becoming a leader on a team, and a healthcare team. And so that course was really important for me, because it allowed me to really take my skills that I learned at a BSW level, in which we're learning about, how to be approachable with our clients, how to build trusting relationships, how to kind of be self-reflective, and making sure that, we're careful in how we approach things with our clients. And I think that that's important, because those skills are transferable to the way that we are as leaders in supervision roles. And so that's kind of what I've taken with me from that course, is recognizing that I do have, a skill set that's I'm able to be a leader, and kind of building on those skills and being able to hopefully someday go into that role. And the next theme was collaboration. And collaboration, I understand, is it's a little bit vague on this, but what it means to me and why it's so important to me coming from the program is the understanding of, when you're working in healthcare, that you are collaborative, that we are going to be working on interprofessional teams, meaning we are going to be working with physicians and nurses and other social workers and physiotherapists, occupational therapists. The list goes on, who we're going to be interacting with. And I think it's important to be able to have the skill set in order to collaborate with those individuals, because our agendas and our scopes of practice are going to be different, but with the mindset that we all have a common goal, and that is to provide positive healthcare experiences to our clients and our patients. And so I think that collaboration is really important to kind of keep in my back pocket and to be mindful of when I'm working with individuals. And then on top of that, it's also important to have collaborative practices, with our clients and patients and their families. We have to be able to, have those difficult conversations with them and be able to kind of bring it all together. And I can use an example from my practicum in working with patients when they're getting ready to make the decision to, fill out that application form to go to a long-term facility. And, their families are involved in that and making those decisions. They're not easy ones, and they need the support. And then they also have the healthcare professionals that are around them supporting them. And sometimes those discussions get hard, because they may not have the same kind of idea of what long-term care may mean to them or what it looks like. And so a collaborative practice approach can really bring everyone together and make sure everyone's on the same page. And that's just an example that translates into everything that we do in social work practice. So I think that that's a really key theme that I'm taking with me in concept. And finally, the last kind of words that I have here is concept of care. And concept of care, I think for me, what I'm meaning by that is that recognizing that every individual's experience of healthcare is different, meaning it's unique, and that what their needs are unique and different from someone else. So we could have two individuals that have the exact same diagnosis, but they may have a different concept of care. So that means that you may be taking, the social determinants of health into consideration. What does the big picture look like? What does healthcare look like for them? What are they hoping to achieve? Currently, right now, I'm completing the mental health course, and we're really looking into, stigma and diagnosis and working with the DSM. And I think for me, what's really stuck out is the concept of, diagnosis, and is it hurting or is it helping clients? And I think that's really important for practitioners to think about. A diagnosis can help people, but it can also hurt them in the sense that of the attached stigma, or they may not want that label. And again, without going into a whole bunch of tangents, I think for me it's really important that we be critical and self-reflective, that what we may see as practitioners be the best, it may not be the best in the eyes of the client. And so this is really looking at a client-centered approach or a patient-centered approach, and really allowing the client to take the lead, and really taking into consideration what their wishes are and what they hope to get out of the healthcare. And then we're providing supportive services the best we can, and give them all the information, and they get to make the decisions based on their own thoughts and processes. Anyways, I could go on and on. I really feel like I've had a lot of growth in this program. I have really learned a lot about myself and who I want to be as a practitioner, and I think that I still have a lot of learning to do, and it's an ongoing journey. So even though the MSW program is coming to an end and graduation is coming, I feel like my learning isn't going to stop. I'm still going to be looking for opportunities to improve my practice, and I think that it's a lifelong journey. I'm still going to be working on my practice when I'm still in the field for hopefully 20 to 30 years from now. So that being said, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and observe my project, and wish you all the best. Thanks.